Days of sitting hunched over patient files had left me with chronic back pain. I was using my day off for an acupuncture session when the formal complaint, signed by a coalition of my patients' families, landed on my desk. As a doctor, he's skipping work to indulge himself. How irresponsible. What day off? When a doctor rests, what happens to the patients? He has no ethics. And he's the director of integrative medicine? He's just a snake oil salesman. This man doesn't deserve to be a doctor. Rage burned in my gut. For 20 years, I devoted my life to this practice. 20 years of poring over medical text day and night, of healing the sick, of fighting to give holistic medicine the legitimacy it deserved. And in the end, I was being called a fraud. When my patients heard I'd been slandered, they started demanding refunds. I was forced to resign. But a few months later, that same group of family members was on their knees, begging me. Dr. Finch, please, you have to come back. I was under investigation. 10 patient families had filed a joint complaint, accusing me of professional negligence and demanding the hospital strip me of my directorship and my license to practice. When Director Evans told me, it felt like being struck by lightning. Ever since I joined the integrative medicine department at City General, I had championed a holistic approach. I painstakingly sourced our herbal apothecary, always put the patient's well-being first, and was constantly mindful of their financial situations, applying for hospital grants and patient assistance funds on their behalf. My guiding principle was to heal the sick with the least financial burden, a human-centered approach. And because I got acupuncture on my day off, they called me irresponsible? The families are adamant, Evans said, his voice grim. They said if the hospital doesn't meet their demands, they're taking this to the state medical board for a disciplinary hearing. My stomach churned with acid reflux. Evans's tone turned severe. Dr. Finch, you need to take a hard look at yourself. Your department is a cost center, not a profit center, and now your patient relations are this volatile. Isn't that your problem? My problem? I help patients get better for the lowest possible cost, and that was now my problem? I was about to argue, but Evans cut me off impatiently. That's enough. Go home and wait for the hospital's official notice. Leaving the director's office, my anger felt like a physical weight in my chest. I swallowed a handful of herbal anti-anxiety supplements, but they did nothing to calm the storm inside me. The hospital added me to a group text with the complainants, hoping I could resolve the issue personally. I typed a message, my fingers trembling slightly. To all the families, since becoming a doctor, I have dedicated myself to the profound art of holistic medicine. I have always held to a patient-first principle, putting their health above all else. I wouldn't claim to have worked myself to death, but I have poured my heart and soul into this. If any of you feel I have been negligent in the course of treatment, you are welcome to discuss it with me face-to-face. Baseless accusations and misunderstandings will only break the spirit of healthcare workers. A few minutes later, a reply appeared. Karen Peterson, Mark's wife. Misunderstanding? Every word of our complaint is true. We heard you could treat things like hypertension and even tumors, so we came all the way to see you. You barely looked at us before writing a prescription. And what's worse, we drove all this way for a follow-up, and you were off getting acupuncture. Do you have any idea how valuable our time is? We had to close our shop for a day because of you. Do you know how much money we lost? She followed up with a list of their gas receipts, hotel bills, and meal expenses. The string of aggressive questions left me stunned. I had given them advance notice. They were the ones who had mixed up the appointment date. I never dreamed they would file a formal complaint over this. I patiently typed back, Mrs. Peterson, the nursing staff notified you in advance of the scheduling change. The shoulder and back pain are occupational hazards of my job. I was using my personal day off for treatment. It did not interfere with my work. Karen Peterson's response was even more mind-boggling. Day off. You're my husband's doctor. The patient is your top priority. You're treating us, earning our money. You should be on call 24/7. At that, other family members chimed in. David Garcia, Maria's husband. I agree with Mrs. Peterson. Doctors are supposed to be compassionate. You should have a service mentality. If you don't have a spirit of self-sacrifice, why be a doctor at all? Kevin Shun, Emily's husband. We all came here because of your title. It's hard to get an appointment with you. And when we finally do, you spend 5 minutes with us, write a prescription, and send us on our way. I thought it was unprofessional from the start. Sarah Miller, Daniel's mother. Exactly. Everyone knows you're a renowned specialist, very experienced. We traveled from out of state just to see you, to get proper treatment, and you're so busy we can barely get a moment of your time. How can you call yourself a doctor? I couldn't help but defend myself. To all of you, I am a doctor. My primary responsibility is to heal, not to be a concierge. When you sought my care, You accepted my methods. I monitor every patient's progress closely. If I'm not feeling well, if my own energy is depleted, it affects the quality of my care. If I truly wanted to slack off, I could just take fewer patients and sit in my office drinking tea. Karen Peterson shot back. Oh, please. You make it sound so noble, but it's all about the money. We know you just got promoted to director. You control the herbal apothecary. More patients means you move more product. Who knows how much you're skimming off the top in kickbacks? A wave of fury washed over me. I wanted to scream. I personally manage the quality control for our entire apothecary, sourcing directly from organic herb farms, prioritizing quality over quantity. If I wanted kickbacks, I'd be making backroom deals with wholesale distributors. I often drove out to the countryside on my own dime to inspect the growing conditions. Who would even believe that? Wherever I went, I carried medical texts and my laptop. For years, I studied book after book. When I found that traditional formulas weren't as effective as they should be, I realized the problem was the quality of the herbs. So I started testing them myself, searching everywhere for the best sources. After prescribing a course of treatment, I'd instruct the nurses on the precise decoction methods and have them report back on the patient's condition constantly, allowing me to make adjustments on the fly. My phone was on 24/7, ready for any emergency. Though I practiced integrative medicine, my workload was no less intense than a doctor's in the ER. And they thought I was killing myself for some negative kickback from a small-time herb farmer? Was I insane? The attacks from the families continued. Holistic doctors have it easy. They don't generate revenue for the hospital, have less work, and don't have to work night shifts. The second you get a promotion, you start slacking off. You're corrupt. Exactly. If you want to make money, fine, but don't let it interfere with our treatment. Who even sees an integrative doctor these days? We came to you. That's a blessing for you. And this is how you treat us. No ethics. Get out. I was shaking with rage. If I wanted to make money, I would have gone into private practice long ago. A private clinic had offered me triple my salary to be their star practitioner, and I turned them down. Why? Because I wanted patients to benefit from hospital grants and insurance coverage to get affordable, effective care. Nurse Chloe Davis, who was with me, couldn't stand it anymore. These people are their family members. They should understand that, Dr. Finch is only one person. Can't they just be adults and communicate with some mutual respect? Ask them, isn't it true that under Dr. Finch's care, every single one of their conditions has shown significant improvement? In my entire career, any patient I agreed to take on, no matter how severe their illness, walked out of that hospital healed. That was an undeniable fact. The group chat fell silent for a moment. Then a voice message from one of the husbands came through. You're treating minor issues. What's there to brag about? Any doctor could have done it. It had nothing to do with you. A chorus of agreement immediately followed. He just tells people to change their diet. You do that, and of course your blood pressure and blood sugar go down. What's that got to do with the doctor? After 2 doses of his herbs, he just told him to watch what he eats, and that was it. What a joke. God-tier doctor? More like a master of self-promotion. My blood pressure spiked. The entire point of holistic treatment is to restore the patient's body to its natural state of balance. To put it bluntly, patients present with 1,000 different strange and complex symptoms. The difficulty lies in the diagnosis. One small oversight, and the efficacy is drastically reduced or even reversed. It took me over a decade of research, summary, and practice to be able to prescribe with such focused precision. To ensure results, I constantly asked for feedback before and after they took their medicine, making adjustments as needed. When patients couldn't afford their treatment, I fought to get them assistance. In any other department, a simple checkup and treatment for a cold could cost hundreds of dollars. In my department, 3 doses of herbal medicine cost less than $100. And now these families were saying their loved one's recovery had nothing to do with me. It was a complete inversion of cause and effect. My chest tightened. I typed a cold, sarcastic reply. Since you all believe the patients healed themselves, why did you come to the hospital to see me in the first place? And what does my acupuncture appointment have to do with any of it? The families exploded. What kind of attitude is that? We're paying for this hospital stay. We deserve to be treated with respect. We came to you for treatment, giving you a chance to make money, and you have the nerve to be arrogant. Chloe couldn't watch anymore. These people are insane, she whispered to me. Do they think the hospital is a hotel? Are we bellhops? The messages in the chat kept scrolling. My eyes felt like they were about to shoot sparks. I took a deep breath, telling myself to stay calm. Once more, I earnestly composed a message. To all the families, the hospital is a place for healing. Venting your emotions won't solve anything. Please focus your energy on the patients. I will do everything in my power to help them and ensure they're discharged in good health. Karen Peterson's next message shattered my composure completely. You have no ethics. You probably let the patients get worse on purpose just so you can swoop in and cure them later to make yourself look like some kind of medical genius. That sentence was the greatest insult to my profession. Fine, fine. This lead physician role, I'm done with it. That's fine. I had already researched and prepared a treatment plan for every single one of them. I had 35 patients under my direct care, each with a unique protocol. Even though I could no longer be their lead doctor, I still wanted to fulfill my final responsibility to them. The next day, during my final rounds, the hospital rooms were already buzzing with complaints. Didn't they say herbal medicine works fast? I've been drinking this stuff for 3 days. Do I really have to keep going? I wake up to the smell of brewing herbs, and my mouth tastes bitter all day long. This holistic stuff is a sham. I just checked my blood pressure, and it's up again. Every patient who came to me had a complex, difficult case. If they didn't, why would they need to be hospitalized? As patients adjust to the treatment, it's normal for their blood pressure to fluctuate. I was about to speak when Mark Peterson's voice cut through the room. Dr. Finch, the longer we're hospitalized, the more medicine we take. The bigger your bonus gets, right? What? I couldn't process the question for a second. Why else would you keep us here, having nurses force-feed us this stuff? It must be the kickbacks from the herbs. You're using us as guinea pigs. It's a good thing you're being taken off our cases. Otherwise, who knows how much more damage you would have done. My face went pale. I scanned the room. The other patients and their families wore expressions of disdain and contempt. So, they all knew I'd been reported. They were the ones who had sought me out, and now, halfway through treatment, with clear signs of progress, not a single one of them would speak a word in my defense as I was being maliciously attacked. They actually believed I was some corrupt charlatan. In over a decade of practicing medicine, I had never felt such a profound chill in my heart. I let out a weary sigh and turned to leave the room. Behind me, I heard whispers and celebratory murmurs. It's a miracle worker. He's just a quack who's good at marketing. Hospitalized for herbal medicine? I've never heard of such a thing. I want to go home. He's just trying to bill us for the hospital stay and the herbs. A corrupt doctor is worse than any corporate shark. Did you see what he prescribed? A potent aconite tincture. Aconite is highly toxic, and he prescribed so much of it. He didn't know that aconite was the core of a powerful carditonic formula, a life-saving remedy for heart and circulatory diseases. Without a sufficient dose, it wouldn't have its miraculous effect. That night, I barely slept. The hospital quickly stripped me of my directorship and assigned a new attending physician. The new doctor, Dr. Bailey, lived in the hospital's staff dorms, meaning he could be there 24 hours a day. The families were thrilled, sharing the news in their group chat. Karen Peterson wrote, I know Dr. Bailey. He's a top graduate from a prestigious medical school. I spoke with him. He's very personable, answers every question, and promises to take good care of the patients. A doctor should be friendly. Dr. Bailey is so much easier to talk to. Mrs. Peterson, you really have great connections. Oh, it's nothing. We just want what's best for the patients. Exactly. It pays to know people. Reading their comments, it was clear they were all thinly veiled attacks on me. After I finished the handover with Dr. Bailey, before I could even leave the group chat, Karen Peterson kicked me out. Taking a deep breath, I submitted my resignation to the hospital. Director Evans's face hardened. Dr. Finch, you're overreacting. Even if you did nothing wrong in this incident, is it necessary to threaten the hospital with your resignation? What doctor doesn't face unfair treatment? To be blunt, even if a family member hits you, you're expected to endure it. I came here to heal people, not to be a punching bag. This hospital had trained me. I had just been promoted to director, and I thought I could finally realize my ambitions here. But the administration resented my department for not generating revenue. I had long become a thorn in their side. Their attempts to make me stay were purely symbolic. I stood firm and handed over my resignation letter. As I left, the patients in the ward were celebrating my departure. I wasn't the least bit surprised. After resigning, I took some time off to properly treat my own neck and back problems. While scrolling through Facebook, I saw a post from a few of the family members I had forgotten to unfriend. Proof that Dr. Bailey is the better doctor. My husband's condition is already improving today. Some miracle worker. Just a fame-hungry con artist sucking the lifeblood out of sick people. They might as well have used my name. What they didn't know was that Dr. Bailey was simply continuing my treatment plans. He was an academic, long on theory but short on practical experience. But he had powerful connections and knew how to play the social game. Patients need a good doctor who can actually cure them. A few of the critical cases had conditions that fluctuated, requiring constant adjustments to their prescriptions. How? Well, Dr. Bailey could manage that remained to be seen. After 2 weeks of rest, the Wellspring Clinic, the private practice that had tried to recruit me before, invited me to be their lead physician. Dr. Finch, just name your terms. The owner, Mr. Hayes said. We guarantee we won't interfere with your treatment methods. You just focus on the medicine. We'll handle everything else. They promised triple my old salary, and I wouldn't have to be on call 24/7. My work hours would be set by me. He wanted to hire me for one reason: my skill. A good holistic doctor is hard to find, especially one with your solid foundation and vast experience, he told me. He understood the modern medical landscape, how integrative medicine departments were in an awkward position in mainstream hospitals, with low consultation fees and inexpensive herbal treatments. Especially a doctor like you who can treat cancer. A few $1,000s in herbs can cure what chemotherapy drugs can't. How does that make Big Pharma look? I hadn't worried about profitability before. The hospital's special funding for promoting integrative medicine was more than enough to support a non-revenue generating department. Besides, a hospital isn't a marketplace. A doctor's job is to save lives, not to generate profits. Mr. Hayes assured me I wouldn't have those concerns at his clinic. My only job would be to see patients and heal them. They had specialists to handle the sourcing of herbs. Dr. Finch, what the Wellspring Clinic needs is a living legend of integrative medicine, an anchor. With you here, I can rest easy. The owner's motivation for opening the clinic wasn't purely profit. It was a passion for the tradition and a desire to care for his own family's health. The true path of medicine. May there be no sickness in the world, and may the herbs on the shelf gather dust. But modern healthcare had become inverted, turned into a business. When I joined the Wellspring Clinic staff group chat, my new colleagues welcomed me warmly. To my surprise, a few patients greeted me as well. Are you Dr. Finch from City General? You switched jobs. I was trying to get an appointment with you before, but it was impossible. My relative saw you. You cured his high blood pressure. A friend recommended the Wellspring Clinic, but I was worried about the quality of care here. Seeing you, Dr. Finch, puts my mind at ease. I smiled and replied, thank you all for your confidence in me. I will do my best to help everyone. If you have any medical questions, feel free to reach out to me anytime. Soon, my colleagues were adding me as a contact, but not a single patient did. One of them explained in the group chat, with holistic medicine, the in-person consultation is what's important. Direct communication is more efficient. Having this group chat is enough. That's right. Doctors are people too. They have lives. Being a doctor is a profession, not their entire existence. Dr. Finch, have a good night. Hope to see you tomorrow. The Wellspring Clinic's philosophy was more like an old-fashioned practice, built on trust and word of mouth. Patients who came here generally believed in the approach, unlike at the hospital, where they bounced between holistic and conventional treatments. I adapted quickly. Meanwhile, back at City General, things in the integrative medicine department were not going smoothly. Dr. Bailey hadn't even been in the position for a month when he was hit with a patient complaint. The reason was absurd. He didn't answer his phone. When Nurse Chloe told me, her voice trembled with anger. Because he didn't answer a call, the patient's family members stormed into his office and slapped him across the face. I was shocked. They got physical. Dr. Bailey was in a meeting, and the reason the family called was ridiculous. They were digging through the used herbs and found some baneberry. They Googled it and saw it was listed as poisonous. My God, they've all become armchair doctors, telling physicians how to prescribe medicine. Why are they even in a hospital? They should just go home and treat themselves. I thought back. Yes, that sounded exactly like something that group of families would do. They had demanded I be available 24/7 by phone and text, often messaging me late at night. The slightest symptom, and they wanted to know what was happening. A daily report on the patient's condition should have been sufficient. Some family members would ask me if the herbs were poisonous and even try to teach me how to practice medicine, showing me formulas they'd found somewhere online. Eventually, I grew tired of repeating my explanations, which is when they suddenly turned on me and secretly filed a complaint. Dr. Bailey got slapped, and the assailant was none other than Karen Peterson. A routine consultation, and he gets assaulted out of the blue. With doctor-patient tensions already at a breaking point, Dr. Bailey couldn't take it. He quit on the spot. What was the hospital's response? I asked, curious. Dr. Bailey was supposed to be well-connected. Chloe grew even angrier. What could they do? Even with his family's connections, he couldn't fight the toxic environment of the whole hospital. It was the same old story. They told him to reflect on his own shortcomings, said his communication skills were poor, that he hadn't managed the doctor-patient relationship properly, or things wouldn't have escalated. Dr. Bailey's medical skills might be average, but his communication skills are excellent. And it still ended like this. That's terrifying. Is that even a hospital anymore? I said with a cold laugh. The leadership must be sick in the head. Probably, Chloe said bitterly. You can't get into leadership unless you are. Our department was never a priority for the hospital anyway. Now with this mess, all the doctors are on edge. I'm afraid the department is going to fall apart. And we have the lowest fees and the best results in the entire hospital. She sounded heartbroken as she said, when you left, I was really sad. I learned so much from you. You had just become director, and I thought you were going to do great things. But then you ran into this pack of insane relatives and this disgusting hospital administration. I don't even want to work here anymore. People think being a doctor is a glamorous profession, but outsiders have no idea of the exhaustion and bitterness that come with it. The incident with Dr. Bailey ended with City General transferring him to their sister hospital downtown. To the very end, Karen Peterson never apologized. After losing 2 attending physicians in a row, no one in the integrative medicine department dared to take on those patients. Without a doctor, they started causing trouble again. Finally, the hospital had no choice but to transfer them to a conventional medicine ward. When they heard they would have to pay more, they protested, saying they had come for holistic treatment, not conventional. If the hospital didn't comply, they threatened to post about it online and file a complaint with the state medical board. Forced into a corner, the hospital specially requested a retired, old-school holistic doctor, Dr. Reed, to come out of retirement to help manage the situation. When the families saw his wise, scholarly demeanor, they felt reassured. They didn't stop to think that their loved ones were hospitalized with serious illnesses that required constant, careful attention. Changing lead physicians one after another, each with a different level of expertise, was incredibly risky. Once a serious illness takes a turn for the worse, treatment becomes exponentially harder. Weren't they afraid the patients wouldn't be able to withstand such chaos? But that had nothing to do with me anymore. At the private clinic, free from complaining families and stressful patients, my energy and spirits were 100 times better than before. When I brought up the issue of herb quality and mentioned the small organic farms, my new boss, Mr. Hayes, agreed without a second thought to source from them, trusting me unconditionally. The system is bogged down in red tape. Everything has to go through endless procedures, he said. A small clinic like ours can be flexible and adapt. Big hospitals have too many restrictions. We don't have those problems. We're just giving people another option for their health care. Mr. Hayes wasn't trying to get rich off this venture. He had a genuine love for traditional medicine and wanted to maintain a practice that could break even. This line of work was tiring, not very profitable, and didn't come with high social status. In an era dominated by Western medicine, you couldn't last without a true passion for it. Here, doctors didn't chase patients. The people who came to us already had a deep trust in holistic medicine. One patient came seeking me out for tumor treatment. She said, "The hospital diagnosed me with breast cancer and told me I needed surgery. Can you treat it with your methods?" I performed a full traditional diagnosis, observing, listening, asking, and palpating. "I can treat it," I told her, "but whether you can be fully cured depends on you." Her eyes lit up. "You mean it can get better without surgery?" "Conventional treatment can be aggressive. Wherever there's a tumor, they cut it out." I explained, in holistic medicine, we don't have the concept of a tumor. We call an abscess a blockage of negative energy and cold. If we can break up the stagnation and clear the pathways, you can heal. The most important thing is to adjust your mindset. Don't be terrified by the disease. It's not the illness we fear, but the panic that throws the spirit into chaos. I can treat the disease, but I can't save a life that has given up hope. You have to be the one to find your peace. She nodded repeatedly. I prescribed her 3 days' worth of herbal medicine and advised her to pay close attention to her emotional state. 3 days later, she returned, her complexion visibly brighter. I continued to adjust her prescription according to her progress. 2 months later, she reported that the pain in her chest was gone, and she felt much healthier. A checkup at the hospital revealed the tumor had disappeared. She ran to find me, overjoyed. I showed the oncologist my scans from 2 months ago and today. He said it was impossible for the tumor to disappear without surgery, that they must have mixed up my scans. But I went to 3 different hospitals for tests. I was so angry. I smiled calmly. "How do you feel now?" "Great. Then that's all that matters. You don't need to worry about what others say. As long as you feel healthy and comfortable, that's the proof." Tears streamed down her face. "Dr. Finch, thank you so much. You truly saved my life." My patients were grateful, wanted to give me gifts to take me out to dinner. I politely declined them all. "We know how good holistic medicine is, but it's so hard to find a good doctor," one patient said. "We finally found one who doesn't care if you're rich or poor. We're so happy. You truly have a healer's heart. That's right, said another. Going to the hospital scares me. It's so crowded, like cattle being led to a slaughterhouse. I like it here. It feels human. Dr. Finch, please take care of yourself. Knowing you're here gives us peace of mind, even when we're sick. But at City General, the integrative medicine department was in trouble again. The conditions of those patients had started to deteriorate. Chloe vented to me. After you left, the department lost its anchor. All the remaining doctors tried to step up, but I could see they were out of their depth. They could only stall. Every patient in that ward has a complex case. These doctors make mistakes treating a simple cold. How could they handle this? If this keeps up, the department is going to shut down, and everyone will go their separate ways. I had foreseen this outcome when I left. Treating severe illness with holistic medicine requires a highly individualized approach. Each person's situation is different, a complete departure from the standardized protocols of conventional medicine. I had gotten several of them to the midpoint of their treatment, only for them to demand a change of command, using their own lives as leverage to file a complaint against me. My feelings were complicated, hard to describe. Now that their conditions had worsened, the families couldn't accept it and started harassing the hospital again, demanding another new lead doctor. You're a top-tier hospital. We heard your integrative department was skilled in conservative treatment. We've been coming back and forth for so long, and his condition hasn't improved. I said from the beginning that old man was no good. He's half-blind and still dares to see patients. What kind of garbage doctor is he? Just collecting a paycheck. If you can't treat him, then get out. Don't risk people's lives. Dr. Reed had been practicing for decades and had never encountered such unreasonable, vile families. He nearly had a stroke from the anger. I can't treat this illness, he declared. You'll have to find someone more capable. These families didn't stop to think that after all the chaos they'd caused, they were lucky any doctor was willing to see them at all. Dr. Reed was a master of gastrointestinal health, but he didn't specialize in critical, complex diseases. And now he was gone. No one else was willing to face this bizarre group of patients and their families. Chloe suspected they were intentionally trying to sabotage the department. The hospital administration was at its wit's end. Amid the chaos, the families thought of me. If nothing else works, we have to get Dr. Finch back, someone said. When he was treating my husband, his condition was improving. Karen Peterson called me. When I picked up, she said, I've spoken with the hospital. We've decided to have you come back. I couldn't help but let out a small laugh. Who is this? Actually, it doesn't matter who you are. I've already resigned and am working somewhere else. Her tone was still as arrogant as ever. You could be rehired. Do you really think working outside the system is better? I know you're at some small clinic, the Wellspring, a tiny little workshop. That remark made me frown. I'm sorry, but I happen to like this little workshop. And even if the hospital begged me to come back, I would never treat any of you again. Karen Peterson's voice rose in anger. You're a doctor. How can you be so petty? So what if we filed a complaint? I'm already extending an olive branch. My husband isn't doing well. You come back, prescribe him some herbs, and we'll let you save face. You'll have her dignity back. Who wanted her definition of dignity? Besides, did she have any to give? I could faintly hear a commotion in the background. He was her doctor first. How can he just abandon us? That little clinic must be paying him more. It's all about the money. What a lack of ethics. He's a fool. We're giving him an easy way out, and he won't take it. What future is there working in some tiny clinic? Even now, this group of families still didn't think they had done anything wrong. They wanted to use moral blackmail to force me to return. I treat human beings, I said coldly, not animals. Humans know shame. Animals don't know when they're not wanted. With that, I hung up the phone. As the story of my success in treating the cancer patient spread, more and more people with difficult and complex illnesses came to the Wellspring Clinic. I exchanged knowledge and studied with the other practitioners there. I was able to solidify my own knowledge while teaching them my methods. They in turn elevated their skills to better serve the patients. Under this collaborative practice, the medical expertise at the Wellspring Clinic grew by leaps and bounds, and most of our patients benefited greatly. Mr. Hayes was ecstatic and wanted to hold a large celebration. During the party, I got a message from Chloe. Karma is real. The families are in open revolt. Karen Peterson was leading the charge. Dozens of family members had stormed the director's office, demanding an explanation. She even sent me a video. The scene was spectacular. Karen was screaming at Director Evans. How can you call yourself a director? Can't you see the patients are wasting away in your hospital? Why are they getting worse? They were stable when they came in, and now, after a few rounds of medicine, their conditions have deteriorated. I had him checked. The tumor hasn't just not shrunk, it's gotten bigger. and his blood pressure is through the roof. Are you doctors or capitalists? Making blood money off human lives. Have you no shame? We need an explanation today. A chorus of voices behind her echoed the sentiment. Yes, we came here because of this hospital's reputation. Director Evans's face was beet red, visibly struggling to control his temper. To all the families, I know you're anxious. That's why we're arranging to transfer you to the conventional medicine department. The best doctor in integrative medicine was Dr. Finch, and he was driven out by your complaints. Karen Peterson spat on the floor. That's a load of crap. This is a public institution. What power do we have to make him leave? You're the one who let him go. That's right. You need to find a way to get these people treated, or this isn't over. My wife's tumor has grown, too. If this drags on, she's going to get much worse. They were all seething, demanding answers. But when the director tried to speak, they wouldn't listen. Someone shoved him, and the scene instantly descended into chaos. A hand grabbed his collar, knocking his glasses off and exposing his bald head. Call security. Call the police. Evans roared in fury. The conflict escalated dramatically. When the police investigated the incident, they found that every doctor involved had fulfilled their duties responsibly. The evidence showed that the family's interference and baseless complaints had directly led to the patient's deteriorating conditions, especially after learning that they had driven away the hospital's top integrative specialist. Several of the family members broke down, crying with regret. The dispute became the talk of the town. Chloe said with a sigh, looking at them, I'm reminded of that saying, ignorance is not a barrier to survival, but arrogance is, and they are both arrogant and ignorant, unrepentant to the very end. I think they've really destroyed our department this time. I heard they're still planning to complain to the medical board. It makes my skin crawl just thinking about it. Now, both the hospital and the patients were at a stalemate. The patients in the integrative ward didn't want conventional treatment, and the conventional doctors wanted nothing to do with the situation, afraid of getting caught in the crossfire. After cycling through several doctors, the patients could clearly recall that they had seen positive results at the very beginning of their treatment. Some couldn't tolerate the side effects of conventional drugs and had to rely on holistic, conservative care. Their mouths tasted of bitter herbs, they were spending money, and they were suffering. As pitiful as their situation was, I felt no sympathy for them. One day, a group of family members suddenly crowded the entrance of the Wellspring Clinic. Dr. Finch, you have to come back. Dr. Finch, we were wrong. We shouldn't have complained. We never should have driven you away. Dr. Finch, we apologize to you. It was our fault. The patients can't wait. You're a doctor. You have a compassionate heart. You can't just stand by and watch people die. Their previous arrogance was gone, replaced by looks of earnest pleading, almost begging. They were like completely different people from the ones who had cursed me. I frowned. I'm not a doctor at City General. Please do not disturb my work. Karen Peterson rushed forward, holding 2 large shopping bags, a placating smile on her face. Dr. Finch, you're a bigger person than that. Let's just let bygones be bygones. A small place like the Wellspring Clinic is beneath you. You're wasting your talent here. You're only working here for the money anyway. How about this? All the families have discussed it. If you agree to come back to the hospital, we'll handle all the paperwork. As long as you can cure my husband, money is no object. I'll even give you a personal bonus. I was amazed by their thought process. After everything that had happened, they had the audacity to openly bribe me. I called for security to escort them out. Karen Peterson grew desperate. Dr. Finch, you're a doctor. You have a healer's heart. We came to you in the first place. Their conditions are critical now. If you don't do something, they're going to get worse. People could die. I remained silent. They were the ones who had created this problem out of nothing. They didn't say a word when they were kicking me out. Now that the fire was at their feet, they came back to me to take responsibility. You were the one, I said calmly, who claimed my prescriptions were toxic, that I was trying to poison your husband, and demanded I be fired. Why is it that now that his condition has worsened, you're coming to me to take responsibility? David Garcia, Maria's husband, quickly interjected. We're not experts. We don't understand the complex interactions of herbal formulas. Please don't take it to heart. My wife has breast cancer. We heard you cured someone before. It was my fault for doubting you. I apologize, okay? Yes, another added. We didn't know the full story back then. We couldn't see you, but the patients could. They saw you in your office, studying and preparing the formulas yourself. He would personally test the herbs. Where can you find a doctor that dedicated these days? Mainly Dr. Finch, your skills are exceptional. A good holistic doctor is a rare find. It seemed the families weren't completely blind after all. I was the snake oil salesman who used my purchasing power to write bogus prescriptions and abused my position for personal gain, wasn't I? I asked flatly. The one who took my day off for acupuncture, neglecting my dying patients? How could that be? You've cured several cancer patients. We checked the prices of the herbs and realized there was almost no profit margin. You were selling them to us practically at cost. There aren't many doctors with your integrity and conscience anymore. Just a while ago, some companies were trying to price gouge these same herbs. The group of families put on sycophantic smiles, as if they had forgotten how they had once attacked me. It was our mistake. We were blind and spoke foolishly. We misunderstood you. You're a magnanimous person. Please don't hold a grudge against us little people. Please forgive us. Hearing this, I nodded in satisfaction. The families' faces lit up with hope, thinking I had agreed to their proposal. But then I said, your actions were indeed outrageous. They caused me great personal and professional harm. However, seeing your sincere apologies now, I will accept them. Now, please leave. I have patients to see. The families were stunned, then panicked. Dr. Finch, you're not coming back to City General with us. No, I am a humble doctor here. I looked at them. My abilities are limited. I can treat diseases, but I cannot save a life that's already been thrown away. As I finished speaking, clinic security arrived and ushered them out. The families, now furious, turned and began cursing me. Their moods changed faster than flipping through a book. Then, they started turning on each other. Look what you've done, Karen, one man shouted. If Dr. Finch had stayed on as my wife's doctor, she would have been discharged by now. All a doctor needs to do is cure the patient. Who cares what he does in his free time? It's not like he was doing it during work hours. My wife can't tolerate conventional drugs. Her last scan showed the cancer has spread. Her treatment was delayed, and it's all your fault. Karen Peterson stomped her foot, screaming, Are you insane? You all said plenty of nasty things about him, too. You complained that he was cold and didn't talk enough. Now you're blaming me. You're the one who started it. You led the charge, saying Dr. Finch had no ethics, that he used poison, that blood pressure was going up. You called him a quack. You were the first one to file a complaint, accusing him of taking kickbacks and forcing him out. Your husband is rich. He can find another doctor. What about us? We were just pawns in your game. If anything happens to my wife, I'll hold you responsible, you crazy bitch. The argument escalated into a physical fight. The police were called again and took them all away. I was worried they wouldn't give up and would bring negative attention to the Wellspring Clinic. Mr. Hayes was one step ahead of me. He already had the names of the troublesome patients and put them on a list, permanently banning them from making appointments at the clinic. He fully agreed with my philosophy. A doctor can treat a disease, but he can't save a life, especially not the lives of ungrateful people who were wolves in sheep's clothing. The next day, the Wellspring Clinic received a formal complaint. The entire practice was to be investigated. This time, the report was anonymous. It accused the clinic of illegally distributing herbal medicine, claiming that I was not prescribing according to the official pharmacopoeia and was recklessly using toxic substances like aconite and baneberry. For the sake of patient health, the complaint demanded that the Wellspring Clinic fire me and that I be placed under criminal investigation. It wasn't hard to guess who was behind such a malicious act. Mr. Hayes's face was grim but resolute. Dr. Finch, don't you worry. I've seen these kinds of smear campaigns against holistic medicine before. Everyone at the State Medical Board knows your reputation. Our state's Integrative Medicine Association has already banded together. We will defend the integrity of our field, and we will stand firmly with you. I nodded, moved by his support, and fully cooperated with the board's investigation. For every prescription, I could articulate the reasoning and its therapeutic effect. The patients and their families at the Wellspring Clinic somehow found out about the investigation and were furious. But their anger wasn't directed at me. It was at the person who filed the report. Dr. Finch, don't worry. We'll find the scumbag who's trying to smear your name. Some people just can't stand that we have access to good, affordable holistic care. If it weren't for you, I'd be spending tens of thousands at the hospital. That's right. Because of you, the efficiency of this whole clinic has improved. They must be jealous and trying to slander you. Dr. Finch, please rest assured. You protect your patients, and we'll protect you. We won't let a good doctor's heart grow cold. Hearing their words, even at my age, my eyes welled up. At least my passion and perseverance were not in vain. My life at the Wellspring Clinic was harmonious. My relationships with colleagues, patients, and their families strong. Many of my patients were from rural areas, and they knew I appreciated naturally grown produce. Every time they came for an appointment, they would bring something from their own gardens. The seasonal fruits and vegetables tasted unbelievably fragrant. It's just a small token, they'd say. If you ever need anything, just call, and I'll bring it over. These simple gifts carried the essence of thousands of years of our agricultural heritage. The first herbalist was a farmer who tasted 100 herbs. Thinking of these kind, wonderful people made me even more dedicated to honing my skills, committed to helping them get the best possible care for the lowest possible cost. One day, after finishing with a patient, I found David Garcia kneeling before me. "Please, save my wife," he begged, crying like a child as he bowed his head to the floor. I was a fool. I let myself be tricked by Mark and Karen Peterson's lies. They were paid to do it. It was a setup deliberately targeting you, with the goal of destroying the integrative medicine department. David Garcia explained everything. Mark Peterson's family owns a pharmaceutical company. They mainly produce all kinds of conventional drugs. I stared at him in shock. "The government is paying more and more attention to integrative medicine," he continued. "But our field relies on herbal remedies, which can't be monopolized. Everyone knows that holistic treatment is cheaper. For a common cold, you could spend hundreds at the hospital. With a good integrative doctor, you could be cured for a few dozen bucks. How is the Petersons Pharma Company supposed to sell their drugs then?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Mark Peterson had stomach cancer, so he came to me for treatment as a pretext to cause trouble. As the head of the department, I controlled the purchasing of all herbal medicines. His company sales reps had approached me several times, but I refused them because their product quality was terrible. To interfere with someone's business is to threaten their livelihood. He must have realized that if I succeeded in building up the department, patients would flock to us. So, he had to take me down. It turned out Mark Peterson was a two-faced liar. He never took the medicine I prescribed and never believed in our methods. He had secretly undergone surgery to remove the tumor and was continuing with chemotherapy. When he first entered the hospital, he weighed 180 pounds. Now he was half that size. A checkup last week revealed the cancer had metastasized. Panicked, he remembered holistic medicine again, which led to all the recent chaos. David Garcia pleaded desperately. We were confused. Our heads weren't on straight to believe his lies. My wife, Maria, was actually getting better on the medicine you prescribed. But with all the delays, her condition has been unstable. "Please, I'm begging you, save my wife." He was about to kneel again. I hesitated. If I made an exception for him, I feared it would lead to endless entanglements with City General. David seemed to read my mind. "My wife and I have talked it over. We trust you completely. Whatever the outcome, we will accept it. We can write a waiver, have it notarized, and we absolutely will not cause any trouble for you or the clinic." He raised his hand as if taking an oath. "I needed to discuss this with Mr. Hayes." "Mr. Hayes just smiled. I knew you'd have a soft spot. I've already prepared the treatment consent forms. All the legalities are covered to ensure there are no loose ends. You just go ahead and do what you do best." Before Maria Garcia and the others could begin treatment with me, they first had to record video statements and sign a stack of legal documents. What surprised me even more was that Nurse Chloe had quit her job at the hospital and applied to the Wellspring Clinic to continue working as my assistant. "The department is dead without you," she said. "It's just a constant stream of patient complaints. The doctors can barely practice." I didn't want to transfer to another department, and I'm still young and passionate about this field. Of course, I had to come find a great doctor to learn from. I want to become a practitioner myself one day. Maybe not save the world, but at least be a small flame that keeps the tradition alive. "There are still complaints?" I asked. "The person complaining is still Karen Peterson. She's an absolute monster," Chloe said. "She's turned the department into a toxic mess, blaming holistic medicine for delaying her husband's treatment and causing his cancer to spread. Luckily, there were witnesses who saw that he never even took the medicine. He did this to himself, and now he's trying to blame the hospital. Conventional medicine couldn't control his disease either. Her husband is half dead now, barely able to eat. It seems like what goes around comes around. Karma is real." Chloe sounded vindicated as she said this. I, however, was filled with a complex mix of emotions. The idea that Mark Peterson would use his own body as part of a business scheme was something I couldn't quite fathom. I love my practice, but I have never sought to belittle conventional medicine. Whether it's holistic or conventional, as long as it can cure the patient, isn't that what matters? Why must we constantly compare their strengths and weaknesses? Perhaps it's because modern medicine has become a massive, industrialized business. The poor can't afford to get sick, doctors are pressured to generate revenue, and the relationship between caregiver and patient is strained to the breaking point. One can only hope for meaningful reform from the government, for a system that provides doctors with a better environment in which to heal. Whether holistic or conventional, letting doctors be doctors, allowing them to return to their true calling, is the only right path forward.